Today we're talking about two new gods that are coming into Smite in a foreseeable future. One of them is Ganesha and the other one is Daji. I hope I pronounced this right. Both of these gods are data mined at this point, and a lot of their kits have been revealed thanks to Smite Data Mining for providing me with the resources for that. And we will go through both their kits and talk about their abilities, what kind of gods they most likely are, what role they could be, and so on. Let's start with Ganesha. Ganesha is a Hindu god. He has the appearance of an elephant, his face is that of an elephant, where he also incorporates many human features in his typical portrayal. You'll see some art on the side here. He is the god of the beginnings and also widely known as the remover of obstacles, and you'll find this in his very kit. Ganesha has already been leaked to be released in patch 4.6 by Hi-Rez themselves on Twitter. It wasn't necessarily specifically said that it is Ganesha that is coming, but by the art that we can see here, we kinda know that it will be Ganesha, because the next god that is data mined is nothing like him. So we pretty much know that we'll see this god very, very soon. As such, a lot of his abilities have been data mined to some extent as well. The two abilities that we don't know much about are his passive and his first skill. There's actually no information on his passive at all, whereas about his one, we only know that the skill is called Protect the Righteous. It sounds like it's some kind of a defense ability, some kind of protection ability, but that's really all we know. His second skill works with stacks. It may somehow change its pose, and it buffs guards. I could imagine that maybe this is actually Protect the Righteous because it buffs guards, so it could very well be that, and the other ability could just not be data mined at all. It's not quite clearly indicated here if these two skills belong together. It seems to not be the case. His third skill is called Remove Obstacles. As previously mentioned, he is known as the god who does exactly that. This ability has a damage over time function. I would assume it's a damage over time function on the enemy, unless it's a dot that hurts himself in order for a greater benefit, which I doubt. But the ability also allows you to throw an enemy. According to the current data mining, the thrown enemy is knocked up, rooted, and stunned. I would assume that this means that maybe surrounding enemies are affected by certain parts of this kit, but because I can't really imagine one single ability doing that much CC at the same time, especially because it's kind of overloaded with CC that you don't need in combination, for example, a root and a stun. Maybe this is conditional as well, maybe depending on certain circumstances it can be a root or a stun or a knockup. His fourth skill, probably the ultimate, is Big Barrier. It is a tower deployable, and it takes 3 hits to kill this tower. It also causes a silence effect in the area apparently, and it reduces protections. So this seems to be a big teamfight ultimate that allows you to get an extra source of damage on the enemies, though 3 hits seem to be rather low, so maybe there's some condition with these hits along with everything else. And it's also obviously a silence and a debuff. Generally speaking, Ganesha seems to have a more support-oriented kit, and as such there are only really 2 roles that could come into play here that could be in question, and that's either Guardian or Warrior. Given that we haven't seen a Warrior release in a while, I do think that Ganesha is likely to be a Warrior. At the same time, the kit sounds very much like a Guardian kit, but then again, I wouldn't be surprised to see a more supporty Warrior, as we haven't seen that so much yet, and it would be a refreshing change to what we're used to seeing. Interesting enough, we also have a lot of information on the goddess after Ganesha, which is Daji. Daji is the 9-tailed fox spirit, and she's a Chinese deity. She does have a very interesting background, as I just read a little bit of this just so you understand. Daji's greatest joy was to hear people cry in physical torment. Once she saw a farmer walking barefoot on ice and ordered his feet to be cut off so she could study them and figure out why they were so resistant to low temperature. On another occasion, she had a pregnant woman's belly cut open so it would satisfy her curiosity to find out what happened inside. With this description, with this little lore inside, you can already get the idea what kind of god this will most likely be. And the abilities very much reflect that, the ability names at least. We know that the first skill is called Horrible Burns. It is known that this may change effect on skills if it's activated, so maybe on other skills. And it does work with her passive, about which we know nothing more than that it's called Razor Claws. Apparently there's some kind of stacking interaction. The second skill is called 1000 Cuts. We don't really know anything more about that skill. The third skill is called Slash and Dash. This is obviously a dash and will probably deal damage as well. The fourth skill, the ultimate, is called Pao Lao. And it is actually, this name is a Chinese torture method of some sort. It is referred to as the hot pillar. So I don't know how exactly this torture method functioned, but the ability itself is a deployable, so it will be this pillar that you drop somewhere. It can be destroyed, it will stun, it will maybe disorient enemies, and it seems to have some sort of interior and exterior damage, which I assume may mean something like in the closer radius and the inner radius of the ability it will deal more damage than on the outer edges of it, or something along those lines. Looking at the previous guard release order and the names of the abilities plus the kit in general, I feel pretty safe to assume that Daji will be an assassin. We haven't had an assassin in a while, and these are damaging, high damaging abilities from judging from the name. There is a dash in there, so it's very, very likely that we will see an assassin, because it's kind of what we would have expected, and many people actually thought that Cernunnos was gonna be that assassin. If that order matches, then we would have basically all roles getting a new god in the same order, and with Ganesha and Daji we would have fulfilled both warrior and assassin, but sometimes Hi-Rez doesn't follow this exact order. That is all the info we have so far. I hope this was interesting, I hope this was insightful. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, feel free to click the sub button down below, or maybe the bell next to it if you haven't yet. Hope to see you for the next one tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out.